how much do you really trust what you think you know? Just sit with that for a moment. Consider the very foundations of your understanding of the world.
Yeah.
Because in this deep dive, we're venturing into a place where reality itself is, well, it's fluid, constantly being reshaped.
We're talking about the terrifyingly believable world of George Orwell's 1984.
Exactly.
It's a work of fiction, yes, a dark vision of the future, but its impact has been immense, shaping how we think about surveillance, power, and truth.
Right.
What makes 1984 so effective, even now, is that unsettling sense that some of its elements, well, they don't feel entirely impossible, do they?
No, they really don't. And our mission today is to really get under the skin of this world. We've got a collection of excerpts that look at everything from the book's literary roots to the chilling ways control is exerted.
What daily life is like for its citizens.
And even those small, dangerous sparks of rebellion. Okay, let's really unpack this.
So when you look at the literary landscape after 1984, what's striking is the sheer oppressive darkness of Orwell's vision. One of our sources points out that he set the bar for dystopia so incredibly low, so utterly bleak, that later attempts to surpass it almost risked becoming comical.
Right, like parody.
Exactly. The novel's power lies in how disturbingly plausible that grim future feels.
It's like once that picture was painted, trying to make it even worse would just tip over into cartoon villainy.
On that note, we have Bernard Wolfe's Limbo from 1952 as a comparison. The source suggests it might have more in common with Brave New World in some ways, but it still gives us an interesting angle on Orwell's work.
What's fascinating with Limbo is its central idea. Imagine a world after a major war where your social standing is tied to voluntarily having a limb amputated.
Wow.
They call it volamp. And this society is largely managed by supercomputers, a level of technological control that even Big Brother, focused as he is on other means, wouldn't have really grasped.
So it's a different kind of nightmare. Precisely. This contrast highlights a key insight. Dystopian fears aren't monolithic. Orwell focused on totalitarian control of information and thought, while Limbo explored anxieties around technology and, well, extreme social engineering.
Right, so one future worries about a watchful state rewriting history, the other about literally losing a leg for social cred. It definitely puts the specific fears of 1984 into a broader context. But let's turn to the core of Orwell's dystopia, the political control, particularly this figure of Goldstein.
Ah, yes, Goldstein. He is presented as the ultimate enemy, the figurehead of all opposition, the one to blame for everything that goes wrong in Oceania.
The target.
The daily 2 minutes hate is entirely focused on him. But what's really interesting, as the source points out, is how little real impact Goldstein seems to have on the actual stability of the regime.
It's almost as if he's a deliberately created target for everyone's anger, right? The text mentions there's hardly any evidence of active agents working for him, or even a clear set of beliefs that define Goldsteinism.
No, it's just this vague embodiment of everything the party is against.
So what do you think is the party's primary motivation for maintaining this figurehead of hate?
That's a crucial question. It seems Goldstein serves as a constant external threat, uniting the populace against a common enemy. This diverts their attention from the party's own shortcomings and creates a perpetual state of fear and vigilance.
Keeps everyone looking outward, not inward.
Exactly. Now, if we connect this to the party's view of the proles, and by proles we mean the working class majority in Oceania, largely left to their own devices.
Right, the 85% or so.
We see another interesting dynamic. The party, according to Winston's observations, sees the proles as a potential source of upheaval simply because of their numbers. Yet, they largely ignore them when it comes to the more complex party propaganda. Some proles even retain hazy memories of a time before Big Brother, a past the party is so determined to erase.
So, in a strange way, the proles are almost outside the party's direct ideological control. The constant surveillance and rewriting of history don't impact their lives in the same intense way they do party members.
It's like Big Brother exists in a different sphere for them, more as a distant symbol than a real day-to-day presence they have to constantly navigate.
Which kind of leads us perfectly into the Ministry of Truth and Winston's job there. This is where the party actively manufactures reality.
Absolutely. Winston's job is to literally rewrite the past, to ensure all records align with the party's current pronouncements and predictions. No errors allowed.
It's not about correcting mistakes, is it? It's about fabricating a history that perfectly supports the party's present narrative. The source emphasizes this constant alteration touches everything. Newspapers, books, films, even children's comics.
Everything. History becomes this constantly changing document, like a palimpsest, where any objective truth becomes impossible to confirm. You can't prove the falsification.
It's a true rewriting of the script of the past. So what Orwell is showing us here isn't just about correcting little errors. It's about fundamentally erasing the past to control the present and future. That's the chilling insight.
And the scale of this operation, as detailed in our sources, is immense. The Ministry of Truth isn't just a few people with typewriters.
No.
There are entire departments dedicated to editing, manipulating photographs, producing fake teleprograms with actors, recalling and destroying outdated materials.
Whoa.
All directed by anonymous figures setting the overall policies. It's an industrial-scale production of falsehoods. You've got typography experts just for faking photos.
It sounds like a bureaucratic nightmare, but a terrifyingly effective one. And the ministry doesn't just create propaganda for party members, right? There's a whole other level aimed at the proles.
Yes, and what's fascinating here is the deliberate cynicism behind the prole propaganda. It's intentionally simplistic, focusing on things like sports, crime, astrology,
Subtraction.
sensational but ultimately meaningless novels, and these formulaic, sentimental songs churned out by a machine called a versifier. Literally machine-generated art.
So, while party members are consuming carefully crafted revisions of history, the proles are kept entertained and distracted with this low-grade stuff. The source even mentions pornosec, right?
That's right. A section dedicated to producing low-grade pornography just for the proles, distributed in sealed packages.
It's all about keeping them content with simple pleasures and uninterested in anything that might challenge the party. Just keep them passive.
Exactly. Now, let's focus on Winston's daily life to really see how this oppression plays out on an individual level.
The 2 minutes hate is a perfect example of this manufactured emotion.
Oh yeah, this daily ritual, directed at the image of Goldstein on the telescreen, sounds incredibly intense. The source describes the crowd hissing, the person next to Winston making the sound of mingled fear and disgust.
Primal stuff.
And Goldstein himself is presented as this ultimate betrayer, the one who supposedly started all of Oceania's problems. What's striking in the description of Goldstein during the hate is how exaggerated his criticisms of the party are, almost to the point of absurdity. Yet, the source points out that it's just believable enough
Hooking people.
to make you worried that less critical thinkers might actually fall for it. And all the while, behind his image, you see these endless columns of the Eurasian army marching, a constant visual reminder of the ongoing war.
It's pure sensory overload designed to whip up this intense, irrational hatred. And against this backdrop of constant surveillance and manufactured hate, we see Winston's first clear act of rebellion, writing "Down with Big Brother" over and over in his secret diary.
It seems like such a small private act, but within the context of Oceania, it's incredibly dangerous, potentially fatal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The source highlights Winston's immediate panic when he realizes he's left the diary open. It just underscores the ever-present threat of the thought police and the severity of even unspoken dissent.
And the party's influence doesn't stop at adults, does it? The Parsons children are particularly a chilling example of how deeply Ingsoc penetrates family life.
They really are. Dressed in their spies' uniforms, they represent this fanatical devotion to the party. The source describes them aggressively accusing Winston of being a traitor and a thought criminal, even threatening him with toy weapons. And that disturbing detail of the boy later hitting Winston with a slingshot, it really drives home the extent to which these children have been indoctrinated.
They're almost extensions of the party's surveillance network within their own families, like little informants.
It's terrifying. It completely erodes any sense of safety or trust within the family unit. Now, the excerpts also touch on Winston's fragmented memories of the past, particularly of his mother and sister.
These memories are filled with a deep sense of tragic loss, a type of sorrow that Winston feels is no longer possible in the present.
Why not possible?
He associates tragedy with a time when there was privacy, love, and genuine connection between people, things the party has systematically destroyed. It's that universal human experience, isn't it, of grappling with past regrets and the way loss shapes our present.
He has this specific memory of his mother dying while still loving him, even though he felt too young and selfish to return that love adequately.
Yes, and this idea of her sacrifice for a personal, unalterable bond really resonates with him because he sees how impossible that kind of private loyalty is in the current atmosphere of fear and betrayal.
That kind of depth of feeling is almost illegal now.
In essence, yes. This contrasts sharply with another memory he has of displaced people seeking shelter, focusing on this old man reeking of gin, mourning a lost loved one, possibly a granddaughter killed in a bombing.
A glimpse of real grief.
A glimpse of genuine personal grief amidst the constant chaos of a world perpetually at war.
So you have these fleeting glimpses of a real human past set against the bleak, controlled present. And the party's control isn't just ideological, it's also physical, isn't it? The mandatory exercises and constant surveillance are a key part of daily life.
Absolutely. The telescreen's harsh voice barking instructions during exercise, bend lower, comrade, that kind of thing.
Right.
The constant awareness of being watched. It's all designed to keep individuals under perpetual scrutiny and control, both physically and mentally. You can't even have a private moment during your morning stretches without Big Brother yelling at you to touch your toes.
It's utterly dehumanizing.
Yeah.
And then there's Newspeak, the party's engineered language.
That's bad.
This seems absolutely crucial to their long-term strategy for maintaining control.
Oh, massively. As Syme explains it to Winston, the entire purpose of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought.
How so?
By systematically eliminating words, the party aims to eventually make thought crime literally impossible, because the linguistic tools to even formulate dissenting ideas will no longer exist. Every concept will be reduced to a single word with a rigidly defined meaning, stripping away any nuance or alternative interpretations.
So if you don't have the word for freedom,
it becomes much harder to even think the concept. Language itself becomes a weapon of oppression, actively limiting the very capacity for independent thought. It's a truly insidious form of control.
mind-boggling. And the source highlights the superficiality of party loyalty in someone like Parsons.
Oh, Parsons is the perfect example of the blindly devoted party member. He enthusiastically participates in all the party activities, like the Hate Week collections, fixing things for the Victory Mansions,
Cheerful about it, too.
without possessing any real understanding of the underlying ideology. His loyalty is purely performative and unquestioning, brimming with what they call imbecile enthusiasm.
He's the kind of person who would cheerfully denounce you to the thought police with a hearty for the party. On the other hand, you have someone like Syme, who actually understands Newspeak and the party's aims intellectually, yet he's still marked for vaporization.
Right. Winston has this chilling intuition about Syme.
What's fascinating here is Winston's almost instinctive sense of who will ultimately be eliminated by the regime, regardless of their apparent loyalty or intellectual understanding. It suggests that even comprehending the system on an intellectual level doesn't guarantee survival. Maybe it even makes you more dangerous to them.
Perhaps. It's like the party operates on a level beyond mere adherence to its doctrines. Now, Winston's encounter with the prole in the pub is really telling. He's desperately trying to gather information about the past before the revolution.
Yeah, trying to get some objective truth.
This scene really underscores how successful the party has been in disconnecting people from their own history. The old man's memories are hazy, fragmented, filtered through decades, and the party's relentless rewriting of the past.
He remembers top hats.
He can recall vague details about capitalists in top hats and public speakers in Hyde Park, but he can't provide the clear, concrete picture Winston is searching for. It's all just jumbled anecdotes.
It highlights the party's success in making the past seem unreliable, almost mythical. And then we have Mr. Charrington's shop, which becomes this little island of the past for Winston.
That little junk shop, yeah. The shop's atmosphere is described as almost dreamlike, filled with these old, forgotten objects like the mahogany bed and the picture of St. Clement Danes.
The paperweight.
The paperweight, yes. These items evoke a sense of nostalgia, a connection to a London that no longer exists.
And that rhyme associated with St. Clement Danes, oranges and lemons say the bells of St. Clement's, it takes on this powerful symbolic meaning, representing a lost London, a lost sense of place and history.
Even though Winston has never actually heard church bells in his lifetime, the rhyme triggers this profound feeling.
It's a tangible link to the past that the party hasn't yet completely erased, at least not entirely. And this is where Julia comes into the narrative more significantly, leading to their secret meetings.
Their first encounter in the countryside is described with this feeling of secrecy and almost forbidden freedom. Julia, in contrast to Winston's more intellectual anxieties, comes across as very practical and down-to-earth.
She just wants to live, basically.
Pretty much. And their affair becomes this central act of rebellion. The sources emphasize that for Winston and Julia, the sexual act itself is a political statement,
A blow against the party.
a defiant assertion of individual desire and connection against the party's attempts to control every aspect of their lives, including their sexuality.
But their relationship is constantly under threat, facing difficulties due to their demanding work schedules and the ever-present fear of surveillance.
Of course. Julia's active participation in seemingly orthodox party activities, the Junior Anti-Sex League, all that is her way of trying to create a shield, a camouflage for their clandestine meetings.
It's a smart strategy, in a way.
This contrast between Winston's more philosophical rebellion and Julia's more pragmatic, sensual defiance is crucial to understanding their dynamic. Julia has little interest in the complexities of party doctrine. Her rebellion is more about reclaiming personal freedom and pleasure in the face of oppression.
She doesn't care about Goldstein's book, really.
Not in the same way Winston does. She understands how to appear outwardly compliant without internalizing any of it. She can fake it really well.
It really shows how resistance can take different forms, doesn't it? Not everyone will have the same intellectual or philosophical approach to fighting back. Now, the narrative shifts with Winston's brief, cryptic encounter with O'Brien.
Ah, O'Brien. This is a pivotal moment. O'Brien's seemingly casual remark about obsolete words in Winston's Newspeak article
About Syme, ironically.
plants the seed of hope that an anti-party organization, the Brotherhood, might actually exist. Winston interprets this as a deliberate signal, a coded way to make contact. He sees recognition in O'Brien's eyes.
It's this tantalizing glimpse of a possibility Winston has longed for, the feeling that he might not be alone in his dissent. Following this, Winston has this resurfacing memory, this deep-seated belief that he was somehow responsible for his mother's death.
Yes, this memory is triggered by a dream and brings back the harsh realities of his childhood. His father's disappearance, the air raids, the constant food shortages, and his own selfish act of stealing the last piece of chocolate from his mother and little sister. The lingering uncertainty about their ultimate fate adds to his profound guilt and emotional burden.
It's a powerful reminder of the personal devastation caused by the party's upheaval and how it can distort even family bonds and individual memories. And throughout all of this, the unblinking eye of the telescreens remains a constant threat.
Always. The source material emphasizes that these devices are always active, always watching. While Winston understands he can try to be clever and avoid them, maybe find a small alcove.
Yeah, find the blind spots.
Yeah. He also knows their limitations. But the true terror lies in the unknown depths of the Ministry of Love, where the party delves into the deepest corners of the human mind, the place where there is no darkness.
It's the ultimate black box of the regime. Which leads us to Winston and Julia's ill-fated visit to O'Brien's apartment. The stark contrast in O'Brien's living conditions compared to ordinary party members is immediately striking, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The luxury. He can turn off his telescreen. It highlights the severe inequalities within the party's hierarchy.
Right.
And O'Brien's questions to Winston and Julia about their willingness to commit acts of betrayal, forgery, corruption, even throwing acid in a child's face, serve as a critical test of their supposed commitment to the resistance.
It's a brutal checklist.
And Winston's only hesitation comes at the thought of betraying Julia, separating from her, a detail O'Brien keenly observes.
This scene truly reveals O'Brien's real role, doesn't it? He reveals himself as a member of the inner party and confirms the existence of Goldstein's book, promising to send Winston a copy.
This is the moment Winston believes he has finally joined the fight against the party. He feels this immense sense of relief almost.
Finally, connection.
And when Winston and Julia finally receive and read excerpts from Goldstein's book in their secret room above the shop, it feels like they're uncovering some fundamental truth about their world.
But as you said, Julia's not really into the theory.
No, the source material points out Julia's lack of deep engagement with the theoretical aspects. She actually falls asleep reading it. Her rebellion remains rooted in the personal and immediate.
For Winston, though, the book appears to provide an intellectual framework for understanding the party's motivations and methods.
Definitely. The excerpts they read discuss the cyclical nature of history. The high, the middle, the low, always struggling.
Right, that pattern.
The underlying fear of human equality driving the new political doctrines, and the party's conscious aim to halt progress and maintain its power indefinitely. They want to freeze history.
The book outlines the party's structure, too, doesn't it? Big Brother at the very top.
Followed by the inner party, maybe 2% of the population, and then the outer party, like Winston. It emphasizes that the party's primary objective isn't to pass on power through inheritance, but to perpetuate itself and its specific worldview. The key is absolute control, not lineage.
And then there's the absolutely crucial concept of doublethink.
Yes, which the book explains as essential for controlling the past and maintaining the party's infallibility. It's the ability to simultaneously hold two contradictory beliefs and accept both as true.
Like knowing you're rewriting history but also believing the new version is the absolute truth.
Precisely. As we foreshadowed earlier, this constant rewriting of history is made possible by doublethink. The continuous rewriting of the past isn't simply about making the party look good, it's about destroying any sense of objective reality.
So there's no ground to stand on.
Exactly. If the past is constantly being changed and controlled by the party, then there's no stable point of reference for dissent. As our sources indicate, this manipulation of reality is as vital to the regime's stability as the Ministry of Love's brutal repression.
And this period of perceived freedom and understanding comes crashing down when Winston and Julia are captured in their secret room. The betrayal by the hidden telescreen behind the picture.
You are the dead.
Chilling. And potentially by Mr. Charrington himself, revealed as a member of the Thought Police. That marks the devastating end of their rebellion.
This moment starkly illustrates the party's all-encompassing surveillance capabilities and the ultimate futility of their attempt to create a truly private sanctuary. It highlights the terrifying reality that no one is truly beyond the party's reach, not even in that dusty old room.
The descent into the Ministry of Love is, well, it's brutal and dehumanizing for Winston. The source described the complete loss of his identity and the systematic torture he endures.
He's thrown in with a variety of prisoners, even common criminals who view the party prisoners, the polites, with open contempt. They seem almost freer in a way.
That's strange, isn't it?
What's striking is the clear distinction between the ordinary criminals and the party prisoners. The criminals seem largely untouched by the party's ideology. They just curse and complain openly, while the party members are consumed by fear, even afraid to speak amongst themselves. Parsons' arrival in the cell is particularly revealing.
Oh, Parsons, the blindly loyal neighbor, imprisoned for thought crime after being denounced by his own daughter for talking in his sleep.
Yes. His bewildered acceptance of his supposed guilt and his naive hope for leniency, he's even sort of proud his daughter turned him in, are both tragic and darkly ironic.
It demonstrates how completely the party has twisted people's understanding of right and wrong. He thinks he deserves it.
And Winston's own torture is described in excruciating detail. The physical brutality, the complete loss of control over his own body, his desperate attempts to confess to anything at all, assassinations, sabotage, just to escape the relentless pain.
It's a systematic dismantling of his physical and mental resistance. But the truly horrifying aspect is his interrogation by O'Brien.
O'Brien orchestrates it all.
Especially the demonstration of reality control with the fingers. O'Brien holding up 4 fingers and insisting Winston sees 5.
And Winston struggles. He knows it's 4, but under duress.
O'Brien's insistence that the party can make 2 + 2 = 5 true is a direct assault on the very idea of objective reality.
It absolutely is. O'Brien's assertion that reality exists only within the mind and that the party controls the mind is the ultimate expression of their totalitarian power. It's not simply about controlling actions or words. It's about controlling thought itself. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth.
And O'Brien's vision of the future he paints for Winston is utterly bleak. Just devastating.
It's unforgettable, isn't it? A world of endless fear, treachery, and pain, completely devoid of any human connection or joy, with only the intoxicating grip of power remaining.
Symbolized by that terrifying image of a boot stamping on a human face forever.
This is the party's ultimate aim. Not just to maintain power, but to completely crush the human spirit. The description of Winston's physical and psychological degradation shown to him in the mirror is a stark and disturbing visual representation of their success.
He barely recognizes himself.
He's reduced to this gaunt, broken, weeping figure.
And even in this broken state, he clings to that last vestige of his rebellion, his love for Julia. But that too is ultimately shattered when he's confronted with Room 101.
Room 101, the worst thing in the world. For Winston, it's rats.
His desperate plea, screaming, "Do it to Julia, not me, Julia!" For the torture to be inflicted on her instead is the final, devastating betrayal. The breaking point.
This is the moment O'Brien has been working towards. The complete and utter destruction of Winston's independent thought and emotional connections. His eventual release and return to the Chestnut Tree Cafe depict a man utterly broken, completely submissive.
He's a mere shadow of his former self. His day is a blur of cheap victory gin and passively following party news on the telescreen. Just waiting.
Tracing 2 + 2 = 5 in the dust.
And the final, chilling moment is his complete and utter surrender, his total acceptance of the party's reality. He looks up at the poster.
He loved Big Brother. The fight is over. He won the victory over himself.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Just, wow. So as we conclude this deep dive into the world of 1984, we return to that initial question we posed to you.
Yeah.
How much do you truly trust your understanding of reality and control?
Orwell's creation starkly reveals the terrifying potential of manipulating history, language, and even our most fundamental perceptions of the world around us.
It forces you to confront the fragility of truth when faced with absolute power. The idea that something objective can just be rewritten.
And it leaves us with a crucial final thought for you to consider. Even without the overt dystopia of Oceania, the telescreens and thought police, in what subtle ways might power and information be shaping your own understanding of the world?
Yeah, what narratives are we just accepting? It's a powerful reminder to constantly question the narratives presented to us and to fiercely protect our capacity for critical thought, maybe now more than ever.